All it says, welcome to the Curragh Museum, and we're very proud to have you here, and we'll do our best to show you around. So what made the Curragh unique was that we have 9 aqueducts, so we had an unlimited supply of water. So that's why the military settled here. We took over the camp then from the British on the 16th of May 1922. So if we go this way, we have the museum set up as you go through the chronicle of years all the way around. So if you have any questions, just ask. So up to here now, we're about the First World War. So this would be a local man, Frank Kelly. Frank Kelly is from Kilcullen, which is just a village just down the road from here. And obviously he passed away during the First World War. His family got the death penny. You can see the Victorian cross here and the medals. You can see some of his items, his watch, his glasses and stuff. And we have we call this trench art. So these would have been shells from the First World War, and lads would have, as you can see, graved them out with their to make trench art with knives or chisels or however. They did a fantastic job.
So he was a medic at the time?
Yes, he was, yes. And some of the items he would have used, like the wire cutters, binoculars. The stuff on this shelf here is what his family donated. So we're very lucky to have them. Some of the weapons, as you can see, corrode and all, but we're very lucky to have them, some of these stuff here. This is a good one. I like this one. This is a sword that was found a couple of years ago down in the officers' mess, hidden behind the water tank. The plumber, I'm not making this up, so the plumber went up to fix the water tank and he found this sword hidden behind it. So it is. And there was a serial number on it, so we're able to trace it back. So it was. And as you can see here, it's a Canadian veteran sword. A Canadian was over here doing military exercise and training, and someone must have took his sword, 1914, and left it there and forgot to go back for it. But as you can see, it's pristine. So we did nothing to it. It wasn't anything done to it at all. That's the way we found it. Well, I didn't find it, but that's where we got it.
So has the Curragh always been the Irish Army's primary military facility?
I would say yes. Well, we have McKeeby in the main barracks, but the Curragh here is our training camp. So all your career courses you do down here. So your NCOs courses, your officer courses, cadets courses, most courses in your career, you have to come here to do it. So, and the camp's slightly split into 2 sections, we'll say. So the middle road splits it. This here is all education. So all your courses are down here. The other side then is your everyday soldier and your first mech, whatever, all your, as we just say, they're running around, the hardship goes down here, training. So, what else do you can see here, we can have this, as we were moving forward, you have a Tommy here from the First World War. That's his uniform, the bull wool, the 303, the mask that you've been wearing.
And of course Ireland was part of the UK at the time, in effect.
Yes, yes, and a lot of people would have served in both First and Second World Wars. So it is. Cavalry would have been very important back in the day, and all these barracks, and this building here as well. This is actually a stables you're in here. Later on I'm going to show you the original floor and that. The front part here was where the blacksmith was. And if you come forward here, we can see all the barracks around here was all cavalry. So you have Naas barracks, which is down the road, Newbridge and Kildare. And I don't know if you get a chance, but if you go to any of the buildings, you know the red big buildings are all around here. If you go anything, the bottom of those buildings are stables. Originally were stables. You'll see the big large circles. The windows are up real high. The floor, I'm going to show what the floor is, but they're used now for offices and stuff, but they're all stables. And the living accommodation was on the top. And if you stand back from the building, you can see the normal windows that you let up and down in all the rooms that are on the top level. So it is.
So one of the things that I guess a lot of the Americans might not understand is that the locations of the barracks in Ireland tend to be inside the middle of cities. As opposed to in the US, where they tend to be in the middle of nowhere, where there's also land and it's cheap. So why is that the case? Why are all the Irish barracks downtown?
Well, like I said, the Curragh is the only one that's not, all the others are exactly what you said, but most of all our other barracks are fenced in, they're walled, security. You'd have to go security to get in, you know, there'll be PAs on the main gate, trafficking in and out. The Curragh is slightly different than that because it's such a wide open, as you can see, it's a massive camp, so it is, massive, and it's a wide open area. And what makes us slightly different, so we have the main road that travels through the middle of it. So the camp's broken up into 3 sections. You have the bottom, the middle and top road. So once a year, it's called triangulation, those roads are closed off. for the right of way, to prove that we have the right of way, but we have no control over the main road. So it is. So the main road, that's what makes it unique. And this camp's very different than most camps because we've schools here. For kids, I mean, you know what I mean? And a lot of the families would have lived here. A lot of people would have lived here. The father would have been a soldier. The kids would have been given accommodation. They went to national school, secondary school. We've all the schools here, shops. We were totally self-sufficient here. We had our own bakery, cinema, everything.
Whereas if you lived in McKee, you'd be going to the local school.
Oh yeah, we were totally the camp was massive. It'd be bigger than Newbridge, a bit more. You wouldn't have to go to Newbridge or Kildare. You didn't have to leave the camp at all. So it is. It's obviously numbers have got down a lot smaller now. It's probably the same as all defence forces in the world. But this was a thriving town.
Now, I seem to recall when we were doing shoot up in, let's say, Gormanstown area, there was a public road basically that went through the firing range area. And you'll see the signs here as well. So hey, if the lights are flashing,
yeah.
So is that the case? That it is public access around here at all times?
No, it is. The main road is public access, right? And like I say, like if you were to go driving down there's still a lot of security around it. It's very open, it's very relaxed and stuff. Right. But there's certain places if you were to go down now and drive in, there'd be lads out fairly quick to see who you are and what you're doing, if that makes sense. All right. There is restricted areas that you won't be able to hit.
Okay. So let's see if some sneaky Lieutenant Colonel with a camera can get
So as we move forward then, this is on loan from the National Museum in Dublin. It's one of the few, we're very lucky to have it. So it is a genuine Free State uniform.
Now that's the one that used to be the other barracks up there, Collins Barracks.
Yeah. So have you been up there?
I was up there a while ago. You got a small little military section at the bottom. I think you had the L60 up there, didn't you?
Yeah. So this is fairly quick now. So I was sliding through. So at this stage now we're coming up to 1916, and as you can hear, this is just a display we have of the forecourts. So it is. We actually have the gun that fired the shots on the forecourts and the GPO, but it's on display. We had it here for about 6 weeks, but it is on display. Then it was moved up to the Constance National Museum, where obviously it should be on display because a lot more people can see it.
So that was basically the shot that started the Civil War. The Irish version of Fort Sumter.
And have I got the monitor on? Yeah. And also, what made it slightly different with this, if you see this one here, it's probably one of the first conflicts that was actually taped. I know now with iPhones and everything, this is not unusual. But we actually have footage here now of the GPO being fired upon. This is just, you're going to see it now in a second. This is just the footage of the Brits with the guns and stuff like that. But you're going to see at the beginning of this tape, and there was civilians looking on. Everyone was looking on. What's going on down there? So it's very unusual. It's probably one of the first ones to record it. So here they are firing, getting ready to fire 1916 onto GPO. And here you can see all the having a look, what's going on, trouble.
Okay, so for the purposes of people that aren't, so the last bit of shoots, for the purposes of people who aren't entirely up to speed with Irish military history, you have the Civil War of the 1920s and you have the 1916. So who was on which side during those two wars or conflicts?
Well, the 1916. I'm trying to be politically correct here. It would have been against the British, so it is. And the Civil War then was among ourselves as such, so it is. And we didn't. It's only we had the anniversary there not so long ago, but it's only now that they're talking about the Civil War, because the Civil War broke families up. So you would have had people that would have been in the 19th fighting together, men that would have been fighting together, and then now shooting each other. So the Civil War it did break families up, so it is. And it wasn't really discussed about, and we didn't even talk too much about it in our history. Shh, don't say that about Civil War. Because you don't know you didn't know your uncle or you know what I mean, like your uncle or brother could have been fighting with you, and then because of whether it agreed with the treaty or disagreed with the treaty.
Okay, so this was a Civil War gun then? But it was also used in 1916 because it was only 5 years.
No, this is after. This isn't actually the gun. It's only we have it set up for it. We actually had the gun here, right. So it is. It's an old. The one you'll see that it's quite old. You can see the tray on it and everything. It's quite a different gun. I was actually in America. They found it in America.
Really?
Yes. So it was bought. It was in I think it's Louisiana. I'm not 100% sure now up on it. And it was bought for a fast food. And there was this fella there. He just seen it. He was smoking. It was all covered in briars. And he seen at the back of it here. See the back here. I don't know if you're familiar with our cap badge, the FF.
Yes.
Well, that was on it, and he just copped it. Got to see. Obviously, he had something to do with artillery. Yeah. Seen the number, rang the buddies back here. You won't believe what I'm after finding. Seen it, traced it, and found out. So we were able to get it back and restore it. And like I said, the boy spent 2 years restoring it. We thought we might get to keep it, but we didn't get to keep it. So we had it here for about 6 weeks. And like I said, it's gone to the National Museum now in Dublin on display.
They traced it by serial number.
The serial number was on it, but I was very lucky that the chap that just seen it was X. Well, artillery. So he knew, he knew it was an Irish weapon. He seen the badge and got the serial number, knew who to ring, and to find out. Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. If you get a chance and you're up in Collins Barracks, you'll see it. It's worth calling in. So, like I said, we took over from the camp on 16th of May, 1922, and this would have been the Union Jack that was taken down. So it is. And the tricolour then, I'm going to show you what we replaced. We were lucky, this was handed into a local family, and it was never taken back, and they handed it in to us. So we're very lucky to have it.
Not a German.
Very, very familiar, isn't it? Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the, okay, so why does he look German?
It's just the helmet. I think it's the Vickers helmet. So it is. They're very rare. Well, we find them hard to get now, especially with the proper cap badge on it. So it is, and we're lucky to get that one there now. But yeah, he does. It does look very. So it is. And one thing that, because of the states and that, when the state was formed, when we were forming our own army, we had to. We sent a number of officers to America, and Captain Berry this man here, Berry, was one of the ones, as you say, you're probably familiar with his grays. This was when he was training. He would have trained in the States. Mm-hmm. And like I said, West Point, there was a few places, there were 6 of them went over to different locations. This would have been his cap and stuff that he had over there. And they came back here, they did about a year over there when they came back here then to infrastructure, they're into our own army, the way to do things and stuff.
So was it for political reasons? They didn't go train officers in the UK after the independence?
I would know now.
No, because I genuinely hadn't thought about it, because you get so much of the processes and protocols for the Irish Army come from the British heritage.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, like you said, most of the Irish, most of them would have been ex-British soldiers.
Yeah.
So it is. Most of them had served in the British Army before they come back. A lot of them had.
So when did the cadet school start producing officers in Ireland?
I'm not 100%. I think it's because I have a sword over here. I'm going to show you it. We have a sword from 1932, and what makes that sword unique is actually it's a German sword. So the swords they would have got, the cadets and the earlier states were getting their swords from Germany, and then we went to Wilkinson. So we have a number of Wilkinson swords as well after that, and now I don't know what the brand name is now, but if you could, we know the ones to get. If you could get that, there's a little symbol on the German one. That's the one to get if you could come across one. So it is.
All right, so you don't call it World War II.
Yeah.
You call it the emergency.
Well, we were neutral. So that was, you must remember that. So we were neutral during World War II. And we had a number of prisoner of war camps. But if you had to be a prisoner of war, this was the place to be. So they would have been segregated. And most of them were pilots, planes that had crashed and stuff. So there was no such much a barbed wire or dogs or that. They had free reign, so it is. And some of them, they used to go to dances, meet the girls. You could cycle to Naas and Newbridge and meet the girls. Some of them have met girls, some of them have come back. And they used to have the barter system, as you can see some of this would be some of the stuff here that we're lucky enough to have, but even you can see the eagle and the cap and that, they cut them out with the metal for barter system. They had their own coin. This would have been the coin system used within the camp to get money to go for a drink or that. They made all these.
Do you? I'm not sure where it is, but you had I've seen a photograph of the parole paper that they would sign that says, "I promise to be back in prison by 9 p.m. or whatever."
Yeah, it was on your honour to come back. Now there was, I don't know if it's true, it could be made, there was apparently a soldier did escape, such as, I don't know if it's true, so I don't know if I should be saying it or not, but apparently he went by taxi.
Oh, Bud Wolf.
So
he was from Nebraska.
And
he was an American that was interned here.
And then he was told to come back.
Yeah, he abused the spirit of the rule.
Yeah.
You found his airplane, if I recall, up in Donegal, maybe 10 years ago, and you restored the machine gun and you fired the machine gun.
I'm not familiar with that now, so I don't know.
The British historian Dan Snow, he did a video on it.
Right.
He was going to Northern Ireland, obviously, where his base was. He didn't quite make it. He went into a bog, and the guns were perfectly preserved in the bog. So when they pulled the airplane out, they put all the pieces together. They got the 303 machine gun from the Spitfire, took it down to the range here, and fired it off.
Right.
Good. I think they had to use new ammo, though. I thought they did try the ammo.
I'm just going to bring you into, I just want to also, you have to see the Chester Beatty display, which we are very lucky to have. So this is, we're very lucky for this display. Chester Beatty was a collector, and he gave 176 pieces to the Defence Forces, which we have. This is only some of the stuff we have on display, and the rest of what he left is up in Collins Spanish as well, our National Museum. So as you can see, if you just work your way around, you can see the muskets, the swords, all the sabres. Any of the swords that have a curve on it, it's the sabres. You can see this is a 4.5-inch executioner sword. Medieval, it just gives you an idea how cruel we can be, how human beings can be so cruel, and they are vicious, but these are not movie props or anything like this. This is genuine stuff. And the only other little thing, it's not a little thing really, but if you look at the handles of the swords or the uniforms, the further you go back, the uniforms are very small. We sometimes have difficulty getting the uniforms because our diet was very restricted. And even you can look at the handles like a child. If we do have them out, we'd clean them and iron them. But yeah, you'd no, only 3 fingers, and that would have been an adult's hand. So we're quite large because of our diet has improved greatly. Like the barbs and on it. These were from Africa. This one here, this is really brutal. See the way they have a design like a scissors. So the first blade, you'd hold it in your hand. The first blade, the pressure would be in the back shaft here, which closes it for entering. And when you're removing it then, the second blade, see the little bar, when you pull that, it opens up to increase the wound.
What country was that one from?
Yeah, we'll get it now and there. Then we have our New Zealand and our tribe stuff here, and of course we have the shillelagh. You couldn't.
It's a very short one.
Well, the shillelagh's not a walking stick.
No, but
it never was a walking stick. It was actually a club.
Yeah, it was to get around the rules. Yeah. So I have a walking stick.
Yeah. And some of these pieces, they're engraved, they're works of art, so they are, with the engraving and the gold, the inlays on them. They're fantastic.
You don't have anything from the Balubas at all, do you?
We do on the way around.
When you get to the Conga section?
Yeah. And we're actually getting in more stuff on that. We're very lucky. A lot of people donate and we're very lucky the amount of stuff. There's not a week goes by someone's handing in something. We're very lucky. I suppose you could say that was the first body armour. Like it would stop arrows and that. Now we have the metal plates and the... So like I was saying, this was actually, this original building was the blacksmiths. And you can see the floor, this is the original floor. And you can see the troughs along the side of the wall. And any of those other buildings in the Curragh, those red brick buildings, this was what was down on the ground floor. And the accommodations office on the top floor. So as we move around here, we're coming into probably today's army, the modern army. So we would have had, you would have fired this, would you, the 303?
Oh no, I'm not that old.
Well, you might.
That was my dad. So I bought a number 4 Mark II, and when my dad was visiting, we took him to the range.
Right.
When he was in the FCA, he had the Lee Enfield. So
right.
He's now 65 years old, 7 years old, firing a Lee Enfield.
Would you work with the FN then?
I had the FN.
Right.
And so, again, when I bought one of those in the US, it was a case of it came as a parts kit. It came in 75 individual pieces, but they didn't give an instruction manual. So I emailed a buddy of mine who was a captain in the FCA at the time. I said, hey, can you send me a manual for the FN? Because they'd moved to the Steyr at this point.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I can't because it's still restricted. Well, I know I have the bloody gun. What do you mean the manual is restricted? But I actually remembered enough of my stripping and assembly of the thing that I could actually put it back together.
Muscle memory.
It's like a jigsaw. Once you get rid of a few of the small springs, the rest of it gets easier.
Right.
So I also, because I live in California, an AUG is technically illegal. So I don't own an AUG. I own an AXR, which looks suspiciously like that.
Right.
The one difference is I don't have a full auto.
Right.
So
right.
No matter how hard I pull the trigger, it's single shot.
Well, I'm lucky enough now. When I was in the FCA, I would have used the 303. Right. I joined in '88, so I got to train with this, but with the FM, but I passed out with the Steyr, which is the current weapon we're using at the moment.
Right. Although you've upgraded top since.
And like I say, there's a lot of variations of that, and we have them in the gun room. If you want to get a look, there's no problem.
So is this one of the ones that would have had the FF stamp on it as well?
No. We have a set of guns down there which are very unique because there would have been the INLA and the IRA, and there's very few places that would have both sets of guns. These guns would have been pointing at each other, if that makes sense. It's down in the gun room. We can go down there in a few minutes if you'd like to have a look at them.
So in this context, INLA and IRA are which? Because to say IRA, you mean PIRA in the US.
The what? Yeah.
Okay, so the INLA were the Unionists?
Yeah, the Catholics and the Protestants. I know that's very black and white, or it's a lot more complicated than that.
Than just religion, but it's a nice dividing line.
I was showing you Naas Barracks where the cavalry was. Yep. So that became Naas. It's closed at now, but Naas would have been where apprentices would have went. So mechanics, electricians, plumbers, they all went to Naas. You would have went in there at maybe 16 or 17 as a young man, and you would have did your trade then before coming up and dispersed among the defence forces. So there's a lot of these armoured cars and that would have been their project, their class project for the year. And they're all to scale. They're fantastic. The work that gone into them is fantastic. And all the doors are open. Everything works. Fantastic.
I don't know if you saw, I had the mispleasure of getting into a Timony a couple of months ago. My God, it was easily the worst armoured vehicle I've ever had to try to squeeze into.
So, like I say, we're moving basically to today's army ration packs. So it is the good stuff. That would have been carried by the NCO in the section or that.
It says 1989, but I swear they were still in the FCA in the late 90s.
They could have been. So it is a dangerous enough weapon because you're known for runaways. So the first thing when we joined, that we were told on instruction to go stop before we even looked at it, the chap would fill it with blanks, cock it, and just drop it on the ground, and off she'd go. Put the fear of God in you. It was the best lesson, and everyone knew then. Very, very, very careful. So most of the time, you carried your magazine, and if it was on the weapon wasn't cocked.
In fact, the blanks, if I recall, on this were ceramic as well. You had to have a cone at the end of it, and it fired an actual ceramic round.
Right. I never fired that weapon. Yeah. So they were just showing it's like a bomb or something. Don't go near it. This is what could happen. So it was the first thing you were shown. And as a recruit coming in, unfamiliar with weapons, it worked. It worked.
No, I remember the NCO telling me this is the most dangerous weapon in the army.
Yeah.
Then we moved to the BAP and it said this is the second most dangerous weapon in the army.
So these are just a selection of our weapons there, our medals.
And all the handbooks, which are probably still restricted. Manual of Armed Brands.
So these are gallant medals. You don't want to be getting these. You have to pass the way to get these. These are our DCMs. three different categories, DCMs, and then just our overseas mission. These would be the period of time, the longer you're in, the different ribbons come on the weapons, or on the ribbons. And this one here would be for good conduct. So we just make our way around this. So this just is our dress uniforms, selection of uniforms that we wear. This would be our number ones. This is what the Chief of Staff would have wore, or does wear.
I still have mine.
So it is, and this would be his dress uniform for functions and stuff.
I came over for a wedding of a buddy of mine. He was in this. Most everybody else was in number ones, and
yeah,
here's this one American here with the cavalry hat and the dress. The American.
Oh, it looks fantastic, and this is ours as well. Like, and as you can see, like you had the cape and everything. Like, they were fantastic.
Now, are they paid for by the soldiers and officers, or are these issue?
I don't know about these ones, but this is going back in history. But they do get an allowance. They get a clothing allowance. I don't know how much it is or what it is. So, sorry, we don't. We're issued with our uniforms, and whatever you need, you get when you want it, or you have it. But the officers do have to pay for their clothes as far, but get a clothing allowance.
Same as us.
So remember we were talking about the swords.
Yeah.
And so this one here, the earlier classes, cadet classes. As you can see, 1937, these would have been produced in Germany. And then we have the Wilkinson swords, which is the British swords we would have got later on. And we've 2 or 3 different types of Wilkinson as the years go by.
So you don't have a standard pattern, you changed pattern over the years?
So yes. It's just that, now even today, now they don't do the Wilkinson swords now. It'd be very expensive. You could get one like it's a collector's item.
So did you have to buy your one?
We did, yeah. That 800 euro.
Where is it now?
At home. Isn't that safe and sound?
You would be familiar with this now. See that, you know the Tommy gun?
Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah. I think the Irish were the first users of it in combat, actually.
Right. We had a gun expert in, also he was an American, and he was very familiar with the Tommy guns. And he says that if you go back, apparently there had been a seizure here or something, and they ended up in the States. But you can get the code at the FBI, you can check the code at the FBI if you want to check on the weapons. So I don't know. This is just a square magazine. You'd be familiar with the round magazine. So but apparently this was more effective. The other one had tendency to blockage. You'd have 2 IAs.
Well, the US Army tended to go with the squares as well.
Yeah.
Not least because it was also easier to handle. This would have been the original issue for
Yeah,
armored
yeah.
vehicles before we replaced it with the M3, which looks all like a Gustav.
Hollywood brought in the wrong one, did it, for Al Capone?
Well, I'm sure the gangsters liked the 25, the 50 round
Yeah,
magazines.
So this then, like I was saying to you earlier on, the Curragh Camp is very unique.
It's like a Scottish flag in the background. What's up with this one?
Black and tans, is it?
I'm not sure. I don't want to even say because I'm not sure which one it is. Dave Ahern is our expert on the mannequins and the uniforms.
I guess it's possible. I mean, it's a British insignia.
I'm pretty sure it's a black and tan uniform, so he would have been an ex-British serviceman, and then he joined formerly the auxiliary police in Ireland, and obviously kept his association in Scotland. They were a paramilitary police force, so really
Not the most popular in Ireland.
So this, like I say, as you can see from some of the wall paintings and the pictures we have here, the Curragh Camp, families, schools, fashion stores, it was very uniquely combined together. So it is even we had our own. You had people living in army, would come get married, have kids. They would spend their whole life here in the camp, educated in the camp, and chances are, like you say, father in the army, probably the son or daughter could join the defence forces. Just the difference, the significance of the cutlery, like the enlisted. See the plain plate would have been the enlisted. The NCOs then had a bit of blue and gold, and the officers then was the gold. Do you know what I mean? Back then, there would have been segregation between different ranks. So it's just a number of our uniforms, the Navy, medical staff, females uniform, DPMs, this is what our current everyday uniform as such, what you work on the uniform, DPMs.
But the days are numbered for that as well, aren't they?
Yes, we're getting a new pattern, I believe. I don't know what the date is we're getting it on it. And apparently we're changing our number ones as well. Oh. They're bringing in the new number ones.
So it can no longer impersonate somebody in the Irish Army.
Number one's what we call our dress uniform, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Class A's.
Yeah. This would be cadets with the lapels. This is a cadet's uniform. It's just a selection of our medals and our overseas trips. So that's the medal you get with whatever overseas trips you go on. And remember, we're talking about the Congo and that. So we have these arrows here, and we actually have the bow and arrows behind you there.
That's interesting. Leather fletcher.
And we're actually getting in some more of these. We're very lucky. There's not a week goes by someone comes in, and we're very lucky that they donate things to the museum. So we're expecting a couple more of the arrows. He's bringing them down to us.
So the Congo was, shall we say, the first major engagement of the Irish Defence Forces?
It would be, yeah.
And you went over basically as a World War II army, and you came back out as a Cold War army. The old uniforms and the old rifles.
Well, yeah, they would have went in the bull's wool. Like it was a very warm uniform to be going out in, and the change, as you can see, in the shorts and we adapted. Like this is the uniform that would have went out in. Like it would have been heavy, very, very wool-like.
Ireland not being the warmest country.
No. And of course, these are Eamon Kent's pipes, Ellen pipes.
Okay, and again, for the ignorant, Eamon Kent is?
He would have been. Eamon Kent was one of the individuals that would have been executed from 1916 rising. So we're very lucky to have them. They were donated for priceless. Yeah, priceless. And they are working. They have been played twice last year. So they are actually working.
To be fair, for the people that again probably on the other side of the Atlantic that don't know the difference, they look at pipes and they think Scottish pipes.
Well, these are Ellen pipes. So the bagpipes are the ones you blow into. Sorry, you have the bag underneath your hand and you blow into it. There's a reserve here. These here, you use your elbow to play them, the Ellen pipes. So it's just your elbow that's playing them. And I know very little about the musical instrument, but we had a chap in here and he was telling us that the bagpipe, because you're breathing into it and that, you have to clean it out every so often with bacteria and stuff like that. But because of the Ellen pipes, just you don't have to do any of that. The ivory, he was telling us here, he was saying, see the way the original ivory is also going grey or smoked, like discoloured. So he said that's how you can tell the original ivory. And you can't get ivory now. The chap we had in makes bagpipes and he's an expert. He says you buy blocks and they lay it down. It's a plastic synthetic, but it's not real ivory.
So this is a public access museum.
Yes.
It's open to the public, anybody can come down.
Yes,
no
and it's
appointments required.
No, there's no appointments, but if you're booking a tour, some people ring. Because we have to facilitate, we do a lot of school tours. We have 2 tours today, and we have 2 tours tomorrow, and a tour every other day to the end of this week. So we do a lot of tours. And what we try to facilitate everyone, what we try to do is you have to book the tour ahead. You can walk in, fall foot, no problem at all, and it's all free. So it is. But with the tours, and to have a tour guide here, as I said earlier, we're serving members of the Defence Forces, and we have our own military duties to do as well. So they're good to us here. They give us a little bit of wiggle room to spend more time here than normally you would be allowed to, but we still have our duties to do when we're called away.
And the museum is fully funded from the Defence Forces budget?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, yeah. And like I said, it's all free. And we're very lucky as well. And we open the weekends as well, because obviously people are working and stuff like that. So you'll probably know more about these. Yeah. And like I said, 2 scorpions on the way in there. And like we were saying, these are very tight, even the doors, you're not getting in and out of them without your C4, without your weapon.
They put me in the driver's seat for the course, and I get in, my foot is...
I was going to say that, you're a little tall.
My foot is jammed hard in one place, my knee's against the armour plate. The sergeant looks at me and says, "You're a trooper, you're not a driver, go to the gunner's course."
There should be nearly a height restriction maybe.
Well, officially I'm too tall to be a tanker in the US Army as well, but I told the recruiter if they can't figure out how to get me into tanks, I will walk in out the door. So you 2 cops here?
Yeah.
One runs and one doesn't? Or am I wrong on that?
The second comment is under repair, so it's not running at the moment.
Okay, well, it's considered part of your operational fleet.
I wouldn't go that far.
We try and cover and try and protect them as much as we could, but we really need a bit of cover.
Now, I'm sure Carl Merton has probably asked this question already, but does anybody know anything about the Meteor engine that you chucked into a truck?
I know not. You'd have to talk to some of the fitters. The people you're going to meet later on now know what they're doing. These 2 large other rooms are all research and storage and stuff.
You have archives here, or are they all up in...
Not paper. Anything paper that we send up to Curragh in archives, because they have a proper way of storing and stuff. Have it open first. Come on in, sir.
So you really do have these 2 in pride of place.
Oh yes, yes. I don't want to tell you too much about this because we'll give you the full.
I was just close to asking for the pyramids on this trip, but I think I'll wait for the next one.
No.
Again, it's rare.
Yeah.
It's like it's in pretty reasonable nick.
It is very. This is drivable. Like this is working. Like it's not. It is a museum piece, but it's functional. It's amazing. Look at when you see the timber wheels and the weight of that body that's on it. It's fantastic.
No, the pyramids that they used in the Michael Collins movie, was that a replica? Obviously, I presume they didn't borrow this one.
No, I don't think so.
Totally replica, yeah. It was just would have been light.
It's like it takes 2 men. Because of the angle coming in. I won't say it's entertaining, but there's a lot of effort involved. It actually takes 2 lads to steer it because it has no, you know what I mean, like hydraulic steering. So you have the driver, and you have his buddy here beside him, also hanging out with that steering wheel to try to turn that to get it into the right position. But she is fully functioning driving the whole lot.
Your rubber is in pretty good condition.
You can. I don't know if you can see. There's not much of the engine there to be looking at. Maybe the side.
And with that gratuitous upskirt shot of the Peerless, we're going to leave the Curragh Museum. And don't worry though, there is more to come from the Curragh Camp in future videos, so subscribe and stay tuned. Till then, take care.